mean, it's so deep, you know, it's almost hard to express it, because it's so deep. It's a lot of it is just a feeling or a connection. It's not even like a physical
roaming through the earth, not really understanding what direction that I was going. And when I found someone happy doing something happy that kind of aligned with my love for the earth, it said to me, well, why not put more energy into it with a greater intention?
I mean, I think all you needed from me was the acknowledgement and the confidence that you can do it. There's no reason why you can't. And that was really all you needed, was for someone to have confidence in you and tell you can do it, you know? I think
this meeting is being... Okay, take one. Okay, so I suppose I'll introduce you both and what we're doing. So we have Liora Soladay with Jayli Clothing, and we have Sunny with Sunny Life Hacks, and I'm Amanda, and I am a character in this world. And today we're going to chat about how you all met and came to be and tell a cool, fun, powerful story, right?
Right.
A little bit about like who you are and what you're doing. You know, just like the elevator pitch is like what's Sunny and what's Sunny Life Hacks.
Okay. All right, so that's some good pressure there.
You can do it.
No pressure.
Who I am, what I'm doing. Okay. Well, my name is Stephan, lover of the world, lover of people, lover of the earth, lover of the higher power. What I do with this project is I contribute to what we want to see more of in the world, and through this medium has been shared through the sharing of handcrafted hemp hats. The only way that I would have access to such an opportunity was when I was farming abroad and running markets selling produce, and meeting a family who shared the love for hats, the hemp hats, and shared the love for the people who were making them. And because of what I was interested in, it led me to the opportunity to see that there was a chance to share it in the U.S., because I was actually in New Zealand at the time. And from there, with the intention to serve the folks where the hats are made, it opened some doors to be able to start to move in that direction and even speak to some fruits. So that a lot of that intention today has come through fruition in a nutshell.
Cool. And then Liora, what's your elevator pitch for Jayli?
Jesus, I don't even know where to begin.
What is Jayli?
Well, I mean, it goes way back. Jayli actually kind of was an accident. Like when I'm not a designer by trade. Like I never went to school to become a designer. I actually studied industrial sociology in South Africa. So my degree was actually very specific to South Africa. You know, it's like I couldn't even use it anywhere else in the world. But I met Jay in India, and he had been on the dead lot scene since he was like 11. And so in his mind, when he traveled around the world, he saw all these amazing things like little purses and tie-dye dresses and tchotchkes from Africa and Indonesia and India, Nepal and Thailand. And so he was already starting to buy that stuff. And then he and I met and got together, and I moved here and I just fell into it. We were going to Grateful Dead shows. We were selling in the parking lot. We were selling at like farmers markets, and we both had other jobs, you know, supporting ourselves. And we just sort of were doing Jayli on the side. And then slowly, it just sort of grew and blossomed into like an actual real company where we could possibly support ourselves. And so I just fell into it, you know. It was never part of my plan, really. And I learned the trade along the way. And I made a lot of mistakes, as we all do when we're learning something new. A lot of things back in the early days, you would order something, and Sunny, you could probably relate to this doing business in Asia, but you would order something and you would, see it and it would be blue tie-dye. And when it comes, it would be green tie-dye. And you'd say to the person, but I ordered blue tie-dye. And they would be like, but green tie-dye is also beautiful. That was the kind of the answer. And this was like 27 years ago when we were first starting out. And so, things often didn't come the way they were supposed to. And slowly we learned how to design and improve and get what we actually wanted. And, and here we are 27 years later.
That's awesome. And how did you two meet? Oh, Sunny, go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, I think I definitely resonate with Liora's introduction to Jayli. It seems like it's almost like a happy accident that we ended up in the place to be able to share our wares with so many folks. I never dreamt of finding a hat. I never thought that I'd have the opportunity. And it just slowly happened out of a backpack for me. I didn't really know where I was going when I was abroad. I have to kind of start over and say that the only way that I would have ever found myself in the position to even consider going to a festival and sharing a hemp hat is that my focus changed from being in a partnership with a loved one to being as an individual roaming through the earth, not really understanding what direction that I was going. And when I found someone happy doing something happy that kind of aligned with my love for the earth, it said to me, well, why not put more energy into it? And, it's all about relationships for me and what we want to get out of it. And that's a really good segue into how I met Liora, because sometimes connections show very promising in the beginning, and then, we're ultimately human, and we can't always, you want to expect the best out of people, but we don't always show the best face ourselves, and we don't see that from other people at times as well. And the initial connection that I had, it influenced me to broaden my horizons and see how else we could share something that I loved so much with a greater intention. And I think that that's the initial sentiment that I was able to share with Jay, because I met Jay first actually at some shows, and then I finally was able to meet Liora. I think it was at the Gorge.
It was at the Gorge. Was it Dead and Company? Yeah, Dead and Company.
It was, yeah. Yeah. It was Dead and Company at the Gorge, and we kind of resonated on how tough other business people can be, and almost I dare I say ruthless, making some ruthless decisions, cutting price or making promises and not delivering for the bottom line. And I think that I shared that heart with you, and you said, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then you made an incredible offer to me.
And I just want to intersect there with the offer that I made. So still to this day, probably 5 times a year, at least, somebody, whether it's someone I meet at a festival, whether it's one of my customers, whether it's one of my friends, they say to me, I want to come to Asia with you. Next time you go, I want to come to Asia with you. And I'm like, be my guest. You're welcome anytime. And when I made that offer to Sunny to come to Asia with me, when was the show? Was it in like June or July? Do you remember?
Yes, it was.
June or July.
I think it was in June.
And the beginning of September, we were on a flight to Asia. So it was the first time ever that I've made the offer where people go, oh, yeah, I totally want to come. I mean, in all the years that Sunny actually said, yes, absolutely. And he followed through. I told him when I was flying, he booked his ticket, and there he was. It was like just so amazing that like he was serious about it. He wasn't just saying, oh, I want to come to Asia with you. It sounds so amazing. He actually did it. And that was what was amazing.
Question.
Yes, go on.
Amazing. Okay, so for context for folks who don't know, right? So you, Sunny, are in the business of selling hats that are aligned with your values, and Liora, you're in the business of selling imports and now things that you actually design with your team that are made consciously and in line with your values. You all met because of that, right? Because of your common shared interest in like business ethics. And so the opportunity to go to Nepal wasn't just to like hang out. Why was this opportunity like significant for you, and what was the purpose of it? Like what made?
Well, I'll say what I think, Sunny, and then you can sort of give your 2 cents. Sunny was talking a lot about this person in New Zealand that he worked with, who he loved very dearly and had a great relationship with, and didn't have any issues working with him, but sort of was talking about how he sort of wanted to go out on his own. He didn't want to have to rely on like a middle person, right? Since he was here, that person was in New Zealand, the stuff's been made in Nepal, and he was just talking about his dream to sort of do it himself. And so, of course, light bulbs went off in my head, because I'm like, I can make that happen for you. No, let me take that back. I can help make that happen for you. And so that was my thinking. I was like, oh my God, like, yes, I can help you. And so, okay, Sunny, now you can speak.
Please, yeah, that's exactly where it is. It was so important for me to have some more control over where it was coming from, so that I can speak from my experience and my eyes on where it comes from, and to be able to share that on a silver platter with everybody that we meet and everybody that we work with. It was absolutely wild to fly to Kathmandu and have the first room that I stayed already booked by you, Liora.
Yeah.
That was out of control. And at the same time, I was keeping the net of possibilities still casted broad. There was a couple other connections that I had made that linked me with some other folks in Kathmandu at the time. And so when I went, it made too much sense to make the jump and to see, all right, well, how many workshops can we see? What are the different qualities of people's working places? What are the different workshops offering? And I really had this strong desire to be able to have a give back, just like Liora and Jay have just done with an incredible broad reach, and how to stay focused on channeling that energy in the right direction. All of these were unknowns. It's really just jumping out into the abyss. And so you like reached out your hand, Liora, and it was really important for me for everybody to be able to trust where we get our stuff. We find such a disconnect in this world. Everything's so industrialized and shipped abroad from places that we don't really know. We don't have someone, really catering to the connection itself. And you feel that connection when you walk into your booth. Jayli is full of beautiful garments that have amazing energy behind it, because every connection, you can tell, is honored and respected, and it's really, and of course they're fun and playful, and that's just the fruits of life, right? So the importance of it, in a nutshell, was to confidently share an authentic connection. So the authentic connection again.
And then also, just to add to that, like, I don't think I would have made that offer to Sunny or to anyone. Oh, that's Arjun. I'm sorry. Liora, I'm on the line for vaccine. It takes so long time. Oh, shit. All right, well, that's okay. Yeah. We'll keep going.
They're on a soft lockdown right now, I think.
Yeah, we'll get back to him later. But, you know, I think I made the offer to Sunny really sensing that all he needed really was a soft landing in Nepal. Like, he didn't need me to hold his hand the whole time he was there. I was just there to sort of provide him a soft landing. And I think I really trusted that when he got there, that he would find his feet and figure it out. But so I sort of just helped the part, like you said, where you go to a new place and you don't know people, you don't trust people, and you don't know how they're going to respond to you or what they're going to do. And so just providing a soft landing, introducing you to a few key people so that you have a solid base when you're there. You always have someone to call on if you need anything. And then I knew that I sensed, or I believed that you would then take the reins and make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think I was going to be the one holding your hand through the whole trip, you know? And you did. Like, we had such a great routine going. Like, I introduced him to Arjun, I introduced him to Raju, but then he would go out all day and tromp the streets of Kathmandu. When we would go to our factory, he would go to his, and he would do his thing, and he met great people, and he figured it out on his own pretty quickly how to make it all happen, you know? So, and I don't think I would have made the offer if I thought that I was going to have to hold your hand through 3 weeks of Kathmandu. You know, because I also had my work to do, you know?
Sorry, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
So just to kind of recap, so you all meet. Sunny, you want to be more independent and thoughtful in your manufacturing. Liora offers to have you accompany her, and she'll make some introductions to the manufacturing sector of Kathmandu, essentially, that she's acquainted with and been acquainted with for 20 some years, right? And so she really fostered you to be able to feel empowered to take over your manufacturing. So essentially what you're talking about now is before you were buying a hat from a third party, you knew where and how this was being made, but you weren't actually the one that was like working with those manufacturers directly. And so now this gave you the opportunity and ability to directly have a relationship with the people who are manufacturing the hat that's on your head right now. Cool.
That's it for sure, no doubt. And I wouldn't want any. You made it too easy for me to take the reins, Liora. You know, I wouldn't want someone to coddle the situation either. There's a lot of responsibility, and to be able to find the ins and outs and a lot of interpersonal skills to be able to create the relationships, create the trust, and understand who's full of it, who isn't. And I wasn't going to settle for exactly what was handed to me either. You know, I met the folks who you introduced me to, and I saw another 10 workshops. I was on the streets every day. I was talking to the people. I said, let me see your workshop. You know, let's talk. Let's sit down. And before and after all the different movements with everybody, it's key. You know, it's chai, and we're seeing if we jive, if we don't. You know, here's the opportunities. This is how far they can extend. You know, their offerings. This is how they can't. And you know, you get a feel for someone when you sit down. And I needed that reassurance that connection was the one to start to put more energy into. And it just so happens that it was. And so I needed to prove it to myself too. And yeah, you know,
I don't think you would have. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. You're in the clear.
I was just going to say that you wouldn't have succeeded either if I'd held your hand through the whole thing. You know what I mean? The point was, the reason why you're succeeding was because you took the opportunity and you ran with it. you know, and that's the important thing is, you know.
Huge accolade, Liora. That's amazing. Thank you so much for saying it. And you're like, you know, you're pumping me up a little bit too much, you know? It's really...
Well, I mean, I think all you needed from me was the acknowledgement and the confidence that you can do it. There's no reason why you can't. And that was really all you needed, was for someone to have confidence in you and tell you can do it, you know?